Thank you for that introduction, Ron. We appreciate the hard work that you put in year after year to make this event a success. Speaking of year after year, it's a distinct honor to be able to be standing on this side of the screen after year of hosting this event for my genealogy patrons at the Arlington Public Library. So let me start with a hearty thank you to Bill Buckner and the whole Lock-In crew for giving me this opportunity. It's my goal that by the end of my talk, you too will be glad that he did. It's been the honor of my career over the past few years to plan, assemble, and run our Retro Tech Lab, though at times it felt like, how's the old expression, building the plane while flying it? It's been one of the most exciting and rewarding projects I've ever been involved with, professionally and maybe even personally. So over the next 45 minutes or so, I'm going to tell you how the Retro Tech Lab came to be and why you might want to develop a service or a space like this wherever you are. 2, I'm going to provide an overview of the types of old media we can help rescue family and institutional memories from, with at least one captivating story per media type. I'll conclude with some lessons learned along the way and some future directions for the Retro Tech Lab. Now, whether you are with a library, a museum, a genealogy society, a historical society, or you're just an interested genealogist, I hope to inspire you to work toward creating your own special place like ours. If you only take away one message from my talk, let it be this. Though tech is necessary, this is not about the tech. It's about the people. So let's get started. I know that many of you have a love-hate relationship with technology. You love what it can do for you, but you find it frustrating and it can make you feel less competent than you are in other areas of your life. So I want you to know you should just relax. There's some technology in this talk, unavoidable for a Retro Tech Lab, but I'm going to keep jargon to a minimum. I need to include just enough to keep other folks who need those details engaged. But if I say something that doesn't resonate with you, just let it wash right over. The whole point is that we wrestle with the hard stuff so that you don't have to. So I think an ideal way to begin this presentation is to have you drop in with me as I'm helping Mary. Nearly 2 years ago when the Retro Tech Lab opened, it was a genuine thrill to see somebody watching her 4-year-old self have a birthday and some other outings with her family. This is one of 6 or 7 interviews that I've interspersed throughout the talk. And I think it's incredibly valuable to have a variety of voices tell you about our Retro Tech Lab experience. Don't take my word for it. Hear it from the volunteers and the patrons themselves. And tell me what we're looking at.
I'm not really sure what this is now. It's a lake. It could be something in Illinois or Wisconsin. I'm not really sure yet. There's not a lot of landmarks.
This started with this in your house.
Vacation.
And the desire to watch it, but not the ability.
Absolutely. This is from 1953 to 1955.
Wow. Okay. So
Amazing.
You see, they didn't waste any space on something like that. So 2 years worth of family memories.
Yeah.
Off and on. And early on, it looked like it was in Chicago. And
I believe
maybe
that.
the Museum of Science and Industry.
Museum of Science and Industry. They had a little park. At that time, they had a little park around there, and it did have a little train that children could get on, adults could go on, and for the look of it, we were treated to a train ride that day. How wonderful! So
long ago.
And this I can't figure out. This is not ringing any bells just yet. But
so this is a relatively slow process. This is taking scans of each of the 30 frames per second that 8mm captured. And at the end of 30 frames per second times 60 seconds per minute times 10 minutes. See, this is not a fast process, but it's going to yield something that can continue to offer delight and can be shared.
Amazing.
Through online storage or just sending somebody the file.
Yeah. So easy.
This is courtesy Arlington Public Library's new Retro Tech Lab,
wow,
sponsored by the Arlington Genealogical Society.
Well, I really want to thank them. This is great. But now we have a...
Mary's visit to the lab that day was a fantastic start that helped me understand what the Retro Tech Lab would end up meaning for hundreds of people. Seeing the childlike joy on Mary's face as she viewed her 4-year-old self after 70 years of being trapped in a tin. Oh, not girl, the memories. Well, it helped me see how this new set of tools would be transformative. Here's a quick reminder of the outline. I'm going to talk about how we built the Retro Tech Lab. Follow that up with seeing the Retro Tech Lab in action. And then we're going to look at some lessons learned and next steps. Well, this adventure started one day when Pete Jacobs, then president of the Arlington Genealogical Society, came up to me at work and said, "Mark, what would you do with this space if money were no limitation?" Now, I have to tell you, if you've ever worked in the public sector or nonprofit sector, you know just what a confusing question that is. It hurt my head to even think about it, because everything that we do is bounded by budgetary constraints. So at first, I was confused and baffled. But then, this is a terrific opportunity. So I gave myself permission to dream a little bit and research what others were already doing in my dream space. And then I made these abstractions concrete with a funding proposal. AGS got excited about my vision as well and funded most of the initial equipment and furniture, and the Retro Tech Lab, as we know it today, is the happy result. Now, several of the slides I'll be taking you through started as part of that pitch deck. If you, personally, or your organization has the resources and authority to fund projects like this, I'll be very interested to learn whether you were persuaded by my pitch deck as well, or by the balance of my talk. If so, I don't actually need a second Retro Tech Lab, but I wouldn't be surprised if a nonprofit or a library near you might be interested in forming a partnership. So the Personal Digital Archiving Station, what we were calling it at the time, kind of as a placeholder, was one of three things that my brainstorming came up with. I needed to kind of translate what Personal Digital Archiving Station might mean. And so the little text here at the bottom, something that helps patrons capture, digitize, and preserve family memories from a wide variety of media, from video cassettes, 8mm film reels, slides, photos, floppy disks, and more. And I needed to show that there was a precedent, that this was a big dream, but I wouldn't be the first person who'd ever tried to do something like this. So this was no mere academic exercise for me. The precious family memories left away on media hit close to home. So I knew that it could work for others as well. The items here on the slide, part of the pitch deck, are for my own life. Fun fact, on the picture in the middle, my son came along while I was taking the picture and asked if he could view these pictures of him learning to ride a tricycle 20 years ago. And he said, can we watch them when you get done? And I said, nope, sorry. We just don't have the needed equipment anymore. That's the point of the picture taking and the slide deck. The good news is he has since been able to view those videos. In many respects, I don't want to brag, but I'm kind of the ideal candidate to do a project like this, because I wasn't born digital the way my kids, but I was born retro. Nearly everything that we have in the Retro Tech Lab, with maybe the exception of 8mm film reels, these were things that were the latest and greatest when I was at my most impressionable stage. My youth and my money was spent on things like this. And I still think it's pretty cool. So here's a couple other conceptual ideas behind personal digital archiving to help people get the idea. Our brains and our mobile devices are all degradable media. The Memory Lab was created to help people preserve these histories and recorded memories for the future. We have what it takes to save these things. The equipment exists, expertise exists. We just need to put it all together. So this slide shows two public libraries that were out ahead of me that I could learn from. I learned from the Dallas Public Library's Heritage Lab one day. The always amazing Ari Wilkins hosted me and was shown around. She let me poke around in the equipment, look at the cords and cables, the kind of stuff that makes a AV geek like me heart sing. DC Public Library was a little bit far away, but this was, I thought, a very compelling presentation of the kinds of things that one could get up to. So I enjoyed my trip to Dallas and took lots of pictures and got an idea of what something like this might actually look like. DC Public Library's Memory Lab concept is spread throughout the country. They had 2 or 3 grant-funded cohorts as they taught people what they had done. I didn't have the opportunity to learn from them directly, but they have lots of great documentation online that gave me head starts in figuring out what kind of equipment to buy. This is one more sort of overview. You need to have conceptually equipment, software, a computer, furniture, and a budget for marketing, getting the word out. So I highly recommend spending everything that you can on a high quality VHS machine because it's a real workhorse. This and cheap machines are going to wear out and have to be replaced over and over again until you've reached this price point anyway. This also has some fancy technology, time-based corrector that helps with quality of the output, but it's about the build quality that makes this make sense. It's lovingly refurbished by a collector and enthusiast, and this was recommended by the Memory Lab. The bottom 2 are camcorders that are specific to the size tapes that they created. There are no adapters for those the way there are for VHS-C. So we started with a Diamond multimedia video audio capture device. Lesson learned here, don't upgrade your computer every opportunity because Mac upgrade broke the connection and they couldn't get new drivers to work. So we ended up going with the Elgato, which we currently use, and we've been very happy with that. That was a blessing in disguise. There's a dedicated machine for digitizing film reels that costs around $400. You need to have a cassette deck and something to play miniature cassettes. So 4 more pieces of equipment. Needed something for slides and negatives. This is a standalone device, not the highest quality, gets the job done, possibly opportunity for an upgrade. The Epson Fast Photo, on the other hand, we couldn't be more thrilled with. Got to have a floppy disk drive, and we needed a computer to tie it all together. And fortunately, the library had one that we could use as an in-kind contribution. And last but certainly not least, we needed some durable library furniture. Library furniture is different than the furniture you might get at IKEA because it has to stand up to hundreds of thousands of people over decades. So the prices here are higher than you would see at Office Depot or something like that, but that's because of how sturdy it is. And last but not least, there's no point in doing all of this if we can't let people know. Now, this has been a bit of a challenge because we don't want to generate more demand than we can fill, but we also don't want to have wonderful equipment and volunteers and expertise going unused because people don't know about it. So all of this together added up to just over $8,000. And remember, this was a wish list. I didn't know what kind of response I would get, but I thought I should just kind of lay it all out there. And this is what I thought we needed. So I had dreamed hard and worked hard and planned hard, and I was delighted when AGS decided to fund this. It didn't come out of nowhere. I'd been working closely with AGS for a number of years and had earned their trust and respect. Frankly, I was one of them, though I never voted when I was on the board for anything that could have even the appearance of a conflict of interest. But I had served as a VP and programming chair for a number of years. And crucially, AGS had received a significant bequest from the estate of a former member, and were actively looking for ways to spend the money. So it's a lot easier to get funded from people who are hoping to spend money. So personal digital archiving is a pretty good name for the librarian in us all, but frankly, a lot of people don't have much librarian in them. So we needed something that would work for everybody. Came up with Retro Technology Lab. Worked through a bunch of logo and branding kind of ideas with a wonderful in-house branding expert, graphic designer named Zoe, and ended up with a logo and brand ID that I couldn't be more thrilled with. It evokes Polaroid, it evokes Andy Warhol, and it evokes avocado and golden appliances from the 70s, frankly. So I think it does a fantastic job. It's manifested in lots of different flyers and publicity and the logo that we still use to this day. Carries over to the website where one can get a quick understanding of what things are about and can, using a web form, they can sign up for an appointment. They can also drop in every Monday night, first come, first serve, and I'll give a little tour. And if you've brought something that fits in the time that we have, you can leave with a little souvenir and then schedule some more time. So I mentioned the web form. It comes into my email. In February, I got this one. I usually ask about specific deadlines. And this one came in on a Wednesday, memorial service on Saturday. Oh, yes, let's get you in. Let's do what we can. So I had enough time, and Aaron came. As it turned out, Aaron had a very interesting request, and I will leave him to explain it to us.
My grandma recently passed away, and we were trying to figure out, trying to find my uncle had recorded some songs that before he had passed away, and we wanted to put them into the funeral, but getting audio cassettes, everything like that, it's not so easy. One little thing.
Right.
So, and my wife mentioned, hey, they do have that here. So we called up, set up an appointment, and you guys have been great. You've helped me get all this music onto flash drive and computer. So it's going to it'll mean the world because my grandma, he'll be able to represent himself since he had passed away a couple years back.
Gotcha. So the uncle who's no longer here will be able to sing at the grandmother's funeral. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, I know I ended that clip by saying wow, but honestly, just wow. Moving into the second section of the presentation, in which we'll be talking about what happens once we receive the equipment and we've got to get it set up, figure out how to work. You'll be hearing from one of my volunteers, get his perspective, and here we go. Despite my protests that the RetroTech Lab is not mainly about the equipment, you at least have to have the equipment, right? So as it started trickling in, I spent dozens of hours learning it inside and out and learning how all the digitization workflow was going to play out, putting in that work so that you don't have to. Now, I'm enough of a child of the 80s and 90s that some of it kind of felt like play, but most good jobs have aspects of work and play intermixed. The RetroTech Lab is not about the equipment, as we've hit before. It's about the people. And Vicky was one of our first, what I call a frequent flyer, someone who spent so much time with us that other staff was beginning to wonder whether she was a new employee or a volunteer. No, she's just someone with a lot of things to digitize and was very excited to spend a couple of weeks with us. Brought some of practically every kind of material. Vicky, can you tell me a little bit about RetroTech Lab, what you've come to do, what it means to you?
Yes. The lab was a lifesaver for me because I had been sending my videos, VHS, all the way across the country to be converted. And it was very expensive, but even worse than that, it was terrifying to think that they could lose them or destroy them. So when I got the email about the lab, I made an appointment right away. Spent weeks and weeks here with Mark, and I've converted Polaroids, negatives, slides, and photographs, and VHS and Super 8, a lot of different things. But I think it was so much fun reliving my life through all these photos.
Yeah.
But the one that really got a hold of me was a video that I didn't even know I had, and that was of my dad when I was growing up. I lost him when I was 16 years old. So when that picture came on of my dad playing his guitar, there were tears that day.
You're one of the reasons I've told people we have Kleenex in the line item budget for the RetroTech Lab.
It was very emotional,
Yeah.
and I'm so grateful, Mark, for you suggesting this
Mm-hmm.
and for the library getting it. I share it with everybody.
That's great.
Yeah, they need to come and do this. So also, when this lab opened, it was the year right before my daughter's 40th birthday.
Okay.
She'd been asking me for pictures and,
Right.
So I was able to give her a drive with her entire life on film,
Wow.
photograph, and plus my life.
Sure.
So it's been a great gift.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us. So I think you can see how the RetroTech Lab is quickly becoming a favorite part of my job, but it's only one part of my job. I have book club and collection development and displays and programming and so forth. And so I figured out pretty early that I didn't go far enough. We needed to have some people come alongside me and help multiply what we were able to do. Between Sue and Jane and Paul, they work 24 hours every week, extending our capabilities and helping folks do the things that the RetroTech Lab is there for. The text on the left is text I sent to downtown staff to let them know who these folks are that they'll be seeing a lot in the room. And so I'm going to turn the floor over to Paul. Well, this again is Mark, and I'm here with wonderful volunteer Paul. I've made the case in the presentation that I literally couldn't do what we do here if it were just me. And Paul is one of the people who's not me, who helps extend our capacity. Paul, what can you share about what volunteering with the RetroTech Lab has meant for you personally and some things that you've seen?
Generally, it means meeting with a lot of individuals that come from all sorts of different backgrounds. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's people who are local, who know about the local government, and we're helping them with individual recordings and transcriptions. But a lot of the times there are people who are looking to bring forward their memories of old recordings that they've made. Sometimes it's of themselves when they were little children and they are looking back at, oh, that's me when I was 2 years old. And you're seeing their family and you're able to help them bring those memories forward. Sometimes there are other individuals. I'm reminded once of one of Sue's good people that came in here who was an older lady, and she wanted to make a transcription of some Bible recordings or church recordings.
Okay.
So we help people with not just family history, but a wide, diverse spectrum.
Institutional history in some cases. I think one of the things you're alluding to early in that answer is our city parks and rec department is getting ready to celebrate their 100th anniversary. And their marketing team has been using our services to digitize hundreds of slides and video cassettes and things like that will help them tell their story.
Indeed.
So some of it's family history, but it can also be an aspect of local history. And if you're an institution who's thinking about this, there's even some overlap where people will come in to record or to digitize Johnny's 8th birthday. Johnny's 8th birthday was at Six Flags in the 70s. And so now suddenly we have an overlap between capturing local history that we can put in our archives with a release and helping someone capture their family history.
Indeed. We also have a lot of different expertise levels of people who walk in here.
Sure.
Some of them are very adept at using Macintosh and various VHS and other recorders that we use. They're a quick learn. Sometimes the people are a little more forgetful, let's say, just like myself. And it's good to interact with the people and help them bring forward their own skills, let them eventually be mentored, and they come in here eventually and they can just run the whole thing themselves. So you get to meet a lot of unique individuals, some of whom are very precious and fragile, you might say, and some of whom are just, they want to get started and be off on their own, and that's lovely too.
And some of the fragility that you mentioned, this is deeply personal stuff. And in many cases, the reason why someone is getting around to digitizing things is for a memorial service, or an anniversary, or something that is not just like in any old day kind of thing, but it really gets to the core of their being. And even though we don't comment a lot on things that are going on unless they invite us into it, these can be highly fraught kind of moments, tears of joy, and sometimes tears of, like acknowledging loss. So this is part of the Genealogy and Local History Room, which is part of the downtown Arlington Public Library. We're doing that on purpose. This is not a standalone kind of phenomenon. There are people who, in your zeal as a genealogy educator, they didn't know that they were interested in genealogy until they'd spent some time here with you, and it turns out that you sparked an interest that they didn't even know they had.
Indeed.
Digitizing video is done in real time, which means if you've got an hour of VHS, it's going to take a little bit more than an hour to do that. And that gives Paul lots of time to teach you why you might be interested in your genealogy.
So I will gently ask if they would be interested in looking at some of their family history and helping coach them along in that spare time while videos are playing.
Right.
And some do, some don't.
Yeah.
It's easy,
Yeah.
One of the things, by the way, you wanted me to mention in traveling and visiting other libraries.
Yes.
So up in Milwaukee this past week, I'll visit their genealogy and local history area and ask if they have a similar setup to this, or would they ever like to, have they ever conceived of that. In Milwaukee this past week, the head genealogist librarian there was saying that she really wishes that such a facility existed.
Oh.
But the funding doesn't exist. The technical know-how doesn't exist.
Well,
she looked at it as if it was a big learning curve and funding curve. And it is, but with enough volunteers and enough good technical know-how of people, which you've provided.
In terms of the expertise, I'll often tell people, none of this is difficult, but none of this is obvious. And the good news is we've been able to develop the technology platform, the hardware and the software, but also we've stumbled through all of these workflows multiple times, so you don't have to. Nearly anyone with moderate level of technical knowledge could buy these things and do them on their own. And I was in that category for years. I had things I'd like to digitize, and I just kind of stared at it and stared up the learning curve and said, "Oh, maybe later." So this has been a real blessing for me, because now suddenly I have to learn how to do it.
Yeah, so it became a doable goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Finally got
exactly. Well, Paul, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate your sharing with us.
Glad to, anytime.
So what really makes the RetroTech Lab work, in my opinion, is this guided do-it-yourself approach. It's not a drop-off and pick-up service or a here's the equipment, good luck, but it's where high-tech meets high-touch. First time through, we'll do it while you watch. Second time, you'll do it while we watch. Then you'll do it while we're just nearby, answer questions if need be. Then you'll do it and you'll wonder why you ever thought it was hard in the first place. So none of this is hard, but none of it is obvious. We've gone through and figured it out, and we know that you can do it too. So I thought it might be instructive to show visually some of the types of media that we can help you convert. Particularly when we get to the video cassettes, because you can see it's not altogether obvious initially what you're dealing with when someone brings something through the doors. So we've got an Epson Fast Photo scanner that will zip through stacks of photos, give them meaningful names based on the data that you supply, do some auto enhancement, and all at a pace that you just wouldn't believe. You'll regret that you ever spent time lifting the lid of a scanner, putting them in one at a time, going through all that rigmarole. When we've had people literally do whole shoe boxes full in 1 or 2 sessions at the RetroTech Lab. Next to that are the negatives. You may not have the photos that were developed, but you may still have the negatives. We've got a negative and slide scanner that help with those. Not everything is a kind of AV media that we help with. A lot of times people bring in memory cards of various sizes and even floppy disks. When it comes to audio cassettes, this is kind of the size that you're probably accustomed to. But this was a size that was very popular in dictation machines and voice recorders and answering phone messages. I have a story about that coming up. From top to bottom, we've got the full-size video cassette that you know and love from Blockbuster and so forth, followed by the compact VHS. It's the exact same size tape, but in a smaller package, which allows this adapter to be used. Spreads the tape over a larger area so that it matches what the VCR is looking for. And then two of the smaller sizes that were common in camcorders, the Digital 8, which is the same form factor as High 8 and 8 millimeter. It can be confusing because they are physically identical, but they don't all have the same playback characteristics. And one of our lessons learned is that you need a camcorder. Well, you need a camcorder to do either of these two. And for this one, you really want one that says Digital 8 because those are backward compatible through the other two formats of that same size. And last but not least, the Mini DV. And these were, DV implies these were recorded digitally. And you need a special camcorder, the same kind that these were recorded on to play them back. And then finally, at this end, we've got both the oldest and the newest ways of capturing video. Short of the goal for all of this is to get you into a digital file. But as long as we're talking about stuff, as long as we're talking about atoms instead of bits as the carriers for this stuff, we've got 8 millimeter. The digitizer can also handle Super 8, which is, again, a similar form factor, but slightly different. And going back to the 1930s and 40s, people were using these all the way through the 60s and early 70s. And then finally, DVD. People ask all the time, hey, can I come to the RetroTech Lab and transfer my video cassette to a DVD? And my answer is only if you make me. We do have the capability of doing that. But what I'd really like to do is to wean you off of storing your memories on things. I tell them that moving from this to this is just moving from one lifeboat to another lifeboat. Neither of them is a long-term solution. And in fact, we have people all the time who come in with DVDs that were created and say, hey, help, I can't play this anymore. We got new computers since then, and they don't have optical drives, and we stream all of our videos online, and we don't have a DVD player in the house or Blu-ray player in the house. And so we can help with the whole array of things here. Now, there are some things that you don't see here that you might have expected. We don't have a turntable. Turntables are widely available for digitizing things. It turns out very few families or institutions have family memories that were pressed to vinyl. And so we've decided to err on the side of that line. And we mainly are interested in helping people capture their family memories and not take things that are commercially available and move them to digital formats. We also don't have a way to play audio reel-to-reel. And I'll discuss that in a little bit when we talk about future directions. But this is these are the kinds of things that we can readily help you with. There are always even other things. Someone brought in an old phone that had a very important voice message on it. And basically, if you can play it back, we can record it with the technology that we have. And so their phone couldn't play back through any of the wires that we still have, but they could play it out into the room, and we could capture it on a microphone and then digitize that through Audacity. So we end up saying a lot of things over and over again, and I made a list of them and this will give you an idea of what life is like in RetroTech Lab. For one, you can't store your things here, whether it's your physical items waiting for your next appointment or your digital stuff on the computer. At the end of your session, everything goes home with you. So bring a memory stick. USB 3.0 sticks are 10 times faster and definitely worth the investment. We've worked out how much space you need. The bottom line is any size stick is good enough. But don't keep your things on them long term because they have a high failure rate and they're not really backed up if they're just on a stick. And last thing that we tell people is your digitized video is going to look terrible on a big TV, but it'll look great on a smartphone or in a small window of a computer screen. The next slide will tell you why. All on a big screen because it wasn't meant to stretch that big. You see down here in the lower left corner, that's the size of an old TV in terms of the resolution. 4K TVs, which are pretty much the norm, be moving to 8K TVs. You can't stretch things out to fit a bigger screen without them getting blocky and pixelated. But the good news is these videos look fantastic on smartphones and on small windows on computer screens. Just don't put them on the big screen if you can help it. So these stories are really at the heart of what makes the RetroTech Lab the special place that it is. Let me just talk about some of them real quick. Someone found their novel that is a quote-unquote work in progress, hasn't been worked on or in progress for 20 years, but now that they've got it off the floppy disk, hope springs eternal. Someone found their mother's last words ever spoken to them on a 25-year-old answering machine tape, and they were able to take that home as an MP3 file. And on a lighter note, I apparently look just like my grandfather, though I did not know that until I shared some slides that I scanned. Well, this is the slide in question, and apparently I'm the spitting image of my grandfather. Concept I find a little difficult to process because he's an old dude, at least was, and I'm obviously young. So, well, the people have spoken. Going to go now to interviews with LaDon and Elaine, talking about their wedding videos that they've rescued through the RetroTech Lab. And then cut to David, who has some very interesting insights. And then we'll move into the conclusion of the talk.
May was my 20th anniversary. My little one, I have a girl, so she was excited to see what do we have for our wedding, and she wants to just see how me and daddy was just look like. But we said that, oh, mommy, we have a movie, but that movie doesn't work. She was so disappointed and wants to say, oh, mommy, I want to you promise me. And then I'm just looking around. I went to the Arlington Library and I just find out, oh, they have this kind of thingy that just doing here for the people. Oh, I'm so excited to just go home to just look at it to my little one because she just always asking, mommy, you promised, did you do that for me? And then I'm going to be so happy if she look at it and then knows what's the history and what's the family. And actually all the family, like my parents, love to just see this movie again.
Well, I've had tapes that I've been wanting to convert, but now I'm celebrating my 25th wedding anniversary next week.
That's great.
And this is actually a surprise for my husband. So,
he's going to be bowled over.
Yes. It's been so many years since we've seen this, and it means so much to me to be able to do this.
Fantastic. That was on a video cassette?
It was VHS.
Okay.
Yes.
Outstanding.
Yes.
Thanks so much for sharing with us.
Thank you.
David, can you tell us a little bit about what you've come to digitize and what it's going to mean for you and your family?
Sure. I discovered the RetroTech Lab through one of the other local branches here in our city of Arlington. And coincidentally, I had traveled last week to visit my mom in Florida, and I found some old home movies that were on VHS of our family trip to Ecuador in 1990 when I must have been like 7. I found some old theatrical plays I did at my local church when I was younger. And these are memories that really take us back. It is truly is an authentic way of time traveling, and it helps us appreciate where we've been, where we are, and where we're going, and what we can share with the generations to come. So, I highly recommend a service like this for the public in all our libraries, because it is, I think, a resource we take for granted. And once you see the footage of where you've been, I think we come to appreciate life in general. So I'd like to thank you, Mark, for your service.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure.
And thank you to Arlington Public Libraries.
I've occasionally done this when I have a really good rapport with someone and wanted to share with them what they looked like while they were reliving these memories. So this is David making new memories while saving old ones. Okay, so finally, in the third part of the presentation, we're going to look at some lessons learned and next steps. One lesson learned is this is not one size fits all. Some folks are going to need close attention and help throughout, while others learn quickly and we just need to get out of their way. Another thing is, if someone has the time and inclination to become a frequent flyer, they may very well have time to be a volunteer. Couple of concluding thoughts. Be open to donated equipment. We've had extra camcorders, extra scanners, including this $8,000 large format scanner that someone donated after enjoying the experience they had with us, and know that they had found a good home for this bad boy that had been sitting in their garage. So another version of keep your eyes open is look for more opportunities to explore the local history component. When people bring things in, it might not just be Johnny's 8th birthday, it might be Johnny's 8th birthday at Six Flags in the 60s. We're also looking for more opportunities to do what we did here, which is to work with a nonprofit to digitize some of their archives. Good for us, good for them. We also, for our centennial celebration, were able to find some old videotapes of Arlington Public Library in the 80s. This is an example of why you don't want to blow things up full size, if you can help it. Finally, this is very important, very useful to me anyway. I learned that people don't really care if it's perfect as long as it's something. Something of any quality is infinitely better than nothing. Something that is perfect is only slightly better than something that is of any quality. So get it done and stop obsessing about it. People generally don't care. They're just pleased to see it. People notice and are grateful when you do a good job. This was nice. I'd do this for no plaudits, but enjoyment plus plaudits, even better. Sometimes it's in the form of acrylic prizes. Sometimes it's in the form of thank you notes. Sometimes it's in the form of brownies. Another thing we'd like to do as a next step is to offer photo and video editing classes. It's not enough to capture full videos if you can't capture the attention of folks in your extended family. This is a great way to find the best parts and draw people in with them. And yes, that is my family. My wife won the Wienermobile for a day, and we used it as a bookmobile. We'd love to add a couple of kinds of equipment. We'll see here on the next page, reel-to-reel tape for audio, zip drives, better slide and negative scanner that can handle medium format slides. And so in conclusion, thanks again to the organizers of the Genealogy Network of Texas Lock-In for allowing me to spend some time telling you my stories of collecting people's stories. And I hope I've inspired you to go and do likewise. If you'd like some advice on how to do that, get in touch with me. There are some baby steps. You don't have to do it all at once in one fell swoop. Whether you are a person or an institution, or frankly, even a person who is an institution, there's a role for you to play here. We didn't create this idea. think we've added some new and useful wrinkles to the experience, but in any case, this is definitely something that you should consider taking some steps toward. Let me know how I can help. Hearing Mary's voice was a great way to start, and hearing Amina's voice is a fantastic way to end. Amina has digitized a bunch of video cassettes. Amina, can you tell me a little bit about what you've recorded and digitized and what it's meant?
Absolutely. I am so grateful to the Arlington Public Library and their main library. They have this genealogy lab. They have so many resources in here. I had probably about 35 VHS cassettes, and I have been thinking about throwing them away. They are probably over 25 years old, and they were out there getting dusty, but I was so grateful. I was able to come here, and I took all of those VHS tapes. I transferred them to digital. I have my own YouTube channel, so I was able to upload those digital moments onto my YouTube channel and was able to share them with my family and friends. They are totally adorable. Those are priceless. Priceless.
And they almost went to the curb.
They almost went to the curb. If it wasn't for the genealogy lab, I just would not have those memories. They would have been lost. And every time I think about it, I would regret it. So I'm so grateful.
You're telling me that you've shared this from junior high.
Yes.
You're not in junior high anymore, doesn't look like. But I can just barely tell that.
Yeah.
But tell me about how people have been responding to that. So it's not just family memories, but kind of extended family too.
Yes, absolutely. Some of my friends, I'm friends with people on Facebook. So because it's digital, now it's accessible and I'm able to share that video. Like I was able to take that YouTube video, upload it to YouTube. And so all of my friends, I have over 560 friends on Facebook, and probably 300 of them are part of my class of 2000 page. And so all of them were able to see and access it and watch it as many times as they want to. And you're able to fast forward and rewind. I
even if you still had it in the good working condition on video cassette and had a video cassette player, you can have all those people over at your house.
That's correct.
But now that it's digital, it can go out and be enjoyed and bring back memories for lots of people.
Absolutely.
Well, Amina, thank you so much for your time this evening. I appreciate you sharing with us what you've gotten out of this.
Thank you.